Okay. Welcome to the GameChanger show. I am excited and really just miss you guys, miss the studio. We have been on the campaign trail. I know I think the last show we did was in the latter part of August. I think it was August the 26th, 27th, sometime along that week. It's been a journey. It's been very interesting. We have been exposing ourselves to all the antics and all the different situations and circumstances revolving around city government. You know, the city council District 5 position is the one that we're running for. We're in a runoff. It's pretty interesting. We've met some really cool people. We've met some really what I would like to think is some people that have some motives that are really not conducive with what the community really needs. There are some interesting people, very interesting people that we want to keep in contact with over the term or over the I guess until the time when God decides to take us off this planet. There are people that we need to connect with simply because the purpose that we have on the planet and the thing that we're so passionately connected with, so passionately involved in. You know, I can remember a few months back when we came on the show and we talked about how the levels would change, and we talked about how we were transitioning from being a ministry that focused in on individual people and individual challenges to an entity or a ministry that focused in on larger amounts of people trying to address issues that a larger group of people are involved with or are challenged by or need to overcome. You know, as being kingdom people, as being people that have a sincere desire to see change, that have a sincere desire to see people's lives impacted in a way that benefits them. And you know, that's been something that I think represents us for the time that we've been here in this arena, in this area, in this atmosphere, serving the community, serving our people. You know, one of the things that has really been impressed upon me.
You're live on my Facebook page?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead and do that. One of the things that have really affected us with respect to, I say, a combination of things, a culmination of things, if you would, things that we've compiled together over the years. You know, one of the more frequent statements I make concerning destiny and concerning purpose is life. If purpose is driving your life, if your mind is focused in on what you're here for, 9 times out of 10, you should not be focused so much in on destiny, because really, honestly and truly, the glory of God is where your destiny sits, you know, and God's ability to get you there is to His benefit, is to His glory, it's to His credibility, you know. And so when you become focused in on that, when that becomes part of your focus, what ends up happening is that you don't embark on these thoughts on your own. These are not thoughts that an individual usually through their own means are introduced to. So in our and our conclusion of this, and what we have determined as a result of this, is that we have not placed ourselves in these positions that we're in. And so as a result, the destiny has already been set in place. You know, those of us who read our Bible, those of us who frequent our Bible, when you talk about Romans 8:28, when you talk about those who are called have been predetermined where they should be. When you talk about that, when you understand that, before you became, so to speak, before you became an impulse before you became a heartbeat in your mother's womb, before you became an idea in your father's and mother's mind, before you became an idea, before you graced the planet with your presence, God knew you, called you, and set your course for life in place. Now, those of you who have frequented this show for any amount of time know that we spend a lot of time talking about how God has preordained, predestined certain things in our lives. One of the things we talk about very, very frequently is that if his plan, before he started his plan, it was completed. Isaiah 46:10, before he started his plan, he was completed. He spoke the end from the beginning. So before he started, his plan was completed. So if you were a part of this plan, if we take Jeremiah, the first chapter, somewhere between the 4th and the 8th verse, you'll find out that he told Jeremiah before he formed him in the belly, before his mother had conceived him, he had knew him and gave him his purpose. Well, you know what? God is not a respecter of person, neither is he a respecter of his own creation. He gives us all the same thing. Okay? So if he gave Jeremiah a purpose and a plan before he formed him in his mother's womb, we all can say that. That's something that's a blanket idea. God didn't just do that for Jeremiah. He did it for all of us. We all have a role. We all have a purpose. We all have a plan. Well, I said all that to say, on the road to purpose should not be focused in on purpose. On the road to purpose should be focused in on the things that you interact with along the journey. Because the only thing you have when you get to the end of your purpose is what you've collected along the way. And so what you've collected along the way is the value of the journey. That's the whole value of the journey. The value of the journey is determined at the end of the journey. We know it through statements like, well done, my good and faithful servant. We know it as, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was sick, you came and visited me. When I was in prison, you came unto me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. We know it as these particular things. But if we hold Scripture in its proper place and give it preeminence, these are the very verses that are telling us the criteria that we have to pass in order to transition into the benefits of well done, my good and faithful servant. So, along the way, along this journey, and even as I started this show out tonight, you know, along the journey of this quest, or of this next chapter in our lives, what we have picked up along the way have been, in this last month and a half, 2 months, what we picked up along the way, because remember, I think we were here the last time in August, like the last part of August, I said. We're in the very last day of October. So September, 60 days have gone by. And in 60 days, all that we have accumulated, all that we have exposed ourselves to is valuable. It's valuable. It's valuable. Not only that, but we see serving the community in another whole light. It's another whole light. There's so much information that we've been exposed to. I'm saying this for myself, and you guys know I hold a full-time position as an IT consultant, but even in the small amount of time that I have had to be able to just listen in on certain conversations and certain meetings and certain presentations and that kind of thing, you know, and just the bits and pieces that I picked up from, you know, from hearing various conversations within my circle, you know, we as a people, okay, we are in the best possible position for God to show out and show out, especially in the north side of Lafayette, because we are in some dire straits. There are some areas that you know that we're pretty good in, and that we can cause to last. We can benefit from further, but there are some areas that we cannot leave in the state that they're in. If we do, they will be to our own detriment. They will be to our own demise. More so, our people, not the stores, not the banks, not the convenience stores, not the daycares, not the businesses that are closing. See, we need to invest in our people. And this is a conversation that I have not heard amongst many of the candidates, if at all. Now I hear the conversations about the library and about education. But really, honestly and truly, when you really think about that, is that any different? I mean, how long have we been talking about education? How many of us in our 40s, 50s, and 60s can raise our hand and say, we never heard nobody say we need education? No. That's the same conversation we've been having for all these years. Same conversation. Education. You know, one group of people want the library, another group of people want this, another group of people want that. The key is going to be in changing the mindset of the people. That's going to be the key. Because it doesn't matter which business you bring. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter how big the business is. It doesn't matter. It's the same kind of mentality, the same kind of application. We should place this in as what we say this. We say this. You know what? We say this. We say, you know what? You can take them out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of them.
You have to have good mentorship. It's just the same way like in church. It's good mentorship. Good
And
leadership.
by the way, we know who this is.
Hello.
We didn't have our normal introduction, but it's okay. It's all right. Well, we say we gotta have good mentors, but I mean, do we have mentors? How long have we had them? Have all those been bad?
No, you have to want it. You have to receive it.
Well,
That's
I
what's
mean,
going to help transform the
okay.
mind.
So how do we get them to do that? I mean, which group of people do we focus in on? Because you know what? I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to be the devil's advocate in this conversation, because simply there are so many different obstacles that it just depends on which circle you're in, you will hear. And I promise you this, I promise you, every one of the obstacles that people present, you've heard before. And the only way I could see them working is if you use them differently.
Yes.
If
You have to use them differently.
well, I mean, but see, using them differently is what we have determined we would do every time we run into a situation where we have to reassess. See?
Yes, sir.
We always say we're gonna use them differently. But in our always, let's just look at the past 20 years. How have I always shown up in our children the past 20 years? I mean, in our community, once again, I hear very few things, but just in the few things that I have heard, I mean, we need a whole nother approach. You understand what I'm saying? I could see, look, you know what I think we did? I think we don't assess ourselves properly. And so because we don't assess ourselves properly, we give to people, watch this, what some people excel in, others fall short in. And then we expect them to operate in a blanket kind of sense to address a situation. And really that's the same approach we've been using for everything. That's the same approach. Now, what I have to say is this, is that God has given us the ability to be resilient. God has given us the ability to, watch this, to recognize that we need to change. He's given us the ability, watch this, He's given us the ability to be able to assess our ability. But the problem is kind of like what Ed said. It's too many people lying and deceiving. See? You know, in the short proverb that says, the little proverb that says, to whom much is given, much is required. Just a careful assessment of that should lead us to know that we shouldn't be putting everybody on the same plight. Because it's obvious. It's obvious certain people don't have the same abilities others do. But yet we group them all together. We send them all to school together. We send them all to high school together. And in some instances, we send them all to college together. Now, that doesn't mean they have to go into the same career field. But if I'm different, why am I being educated the same? See, some of our challenge comes from we wanting to group people all together. Now, you know, in my assessment of people, period, over these past 40-some whatever years, watch this. I recognize the fact that some people, and I can go to the pinnacle of my vocabulary. I can go to the pinnacle of my logic. I can go to some logic I'm experimenting on, and they right there with me.
Excuse me.
But in some people, I have to figure out how to talk to them because I have to dumb my conversation down so much. So wait a minute. So what is that? Why is that like that? Well, it's like that because we all have different roles. We have the same level of physical ability, not so much specifically, but we can walk, we can talk, we can use our physical members just like everybody else can. But it comes to when you start dealing with mental ability, mental capacity, comprehension, everybody is not on the same level because we don't all have the same role. Right. What if we address people on that level? What if we gave them we gave them the ability to do things that was right within their capacity. We didn't expect them to do something that was way beyond their ability. What if we did that? Is that something we've done before? Huh? And if we have, what was the outcome? Why did we revert back to the same thing? You know, these are things that just in a conversation or just in a presentation that I'm having come up as variables, as pieces of the argument, of questions people might want to ask. And all I'm saying is this, is that in this quest that God has placed us in this journey, in this next level, as I was saying, we came before you 2-3 months ago and said we was on another level. We weren't going to serve ones, we were moving to serve hundreds and thousands, and now here is the city council position, okay? Serve hundreds and thousands. Serve hundreds and thousands. For those of us who've been a regular part of this audience, we're not going to stop. We've taken some time off from the show to focus in on city council things and some other things that we have. But after this gets in place, in 2 weeks, we're going to change again. See? So now what does that represent? What next phase is that going to represent? Because I'm going to tell you, by leaps and bounds, there are things that are coming. There are things that are going to change our community by leaps and bounds.
Amen.
Amen. And so, you know, guys, I started this out, as I said, by myself. I told you they would come. They were on their way. They're here. I didn't stop to introduce them, but I don't guess I need to introduce them. Last time we was here, last couple of times we were here, Pop was here with us. We let Pop address the regular audience and say hello, and I got some feedback from a few people, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Not only that, but you know, there's a lot that I'm sure that baby girl has to say. You know, I'm sure there's a lot that Pop would want to say. I know that I've probably...
By this time of the night, for me, not a lot. So much.
Let me say this to you. Okay, now the people who regularly watch you say this time of the night you've been on this show, so we don't understand what you're saying.
What I'm saying is I get up every morning around 8 o'clock and start my day on the campaign trail.
Right.
So I didn't have that before. So
yes, you did.
Not the campaign trail.
Not the campaign trail, but you got up a whole lot earlier than 8 o'clock.
Yeah, but throughout the day on the campaign trail, you're engaging people all day. You have meetings, you have interviews, you have to study, you have to prepare for different situations. So I just need y'all to continue to lift us up in prayer as we go forth toward this council seat. It's a very strategic time for our city and for the constituents in our city, citywide, not just District 5, although that's the seat I'm running for. Continually pray for all of us, pray for the mayor president seat as well. That's interesting. You know, we have work to do in this city. And I knew I was going to have to do something different. I felt a shift coming. When God brought us to this city, many of you know, he told me just pray. I couldn't lead worship. I couldn't preach. Just pray. I just need you to intercede. And I spent 6 years doing that. So from what I'm hearing now, people are asking me, well, how did you stay underneath the radar, and all of a sudden you right in our face? You know, well, that was just it. God had a plan through prayer and through prayer lines and connecting with different people and across the board, different parties, you know. So one thing I can say tonight, if God bring you to it, he will certainly bring you through it. You have to keep vision before you. You have to keep purpose before you, and don't get sidetracked by your critics. Your critics can throw you off. I'm like Bishop Jakes now. I pay my critics no mind. I'm open. I'm open for suggestions. I'm open for comments. I certainly am not a politician. For all of you that watch this show, you know I'm an ambassador, and I've been sent by God. It's not to pat myself on the back, but that He gets the glory from what He wants to do in this community, in this season, through this city council position. Many families' lives are going to be turned around. Many businesses going to come forward, mixed middle to income housing. We're expecting those to start to begin to show up on the north side, to increase or to help the economic development. If you've experienced north side in any kind of way, you know that we're lacking some things. We're lacking some grocery stores. We're lacking some banks now, some locally owned grocery stores and banks. We have businesses that have done well, and it's time for them to maybe consider expanding, especially when you're a minority. There's block grants there, commercial grants that's there that can help them expand, so someone asked me today, they said, Janet, you already working like you're in the seat. Well, I believe, and I'm proactive, so we've connected with the city, Parish Proud, the beautification program, and you're about to see something mighty beautiful coming up on Mall Street and Louisiana Avenue. The Azalea Trail is about to take off on both sides of the golf course there. You'll begin to see dark pink azaleas, which we think is going to beautify, clean up projects, embrace the space. If you don't know about these projects and you're interested in cleaning up your area or the place that you live in, just get in contact with Ms. Skyra Rito downtown in the mayor's office, Ms. Denise Lonclose. They know what they're doing. They've already got it set out, and one of the first things is top priority. We're gonna have to clean up our district. We have 20,000 cars that drive up and down Mall Street daily. How can we get these cars to stop and patronize us? And why aren't they stopping, by the way? We have some real questions that we got to get to the bottom of. This Morgan City exit, why it looks so shabby and dark when you come off of, if you're coming from Baton Rouge and you get off on that Morgan City exit, look at that bridge. It's dirty, it's nasty, it's got weeds growing out. You got big orange and white what they call them, things you put in the street to keep people from going from one side. Paint it, for goodness sake. Say welcome to Lafayette or something on it. It's just some ugly stuff that I think girl power. When I say girl power, I believe God gave us a type of vision that sometimes only we can see, from a girl perspective. So I'm interested in just seeing how the district is going to turn around. Will we be able to do everything in 4 years? Probably not. Will I be here 4 years after this? Who knows? I can tell you one thing, I probably will be a professional politician. And what I mean, I'll term out of one thing and I'll go into another one, because I see the corruption, because I see the need for people that have a desire. I'm not just talking about talking, I'm talking about doing the work, delegating the work to people that have the resources, the answers, stakeholders, local developers, that we can just get involved. And you say you love your community, you love your district, don't keep those great ideas to yourself. You can contact me. That's what it's all about. I need your help. I cannot do this alone. Don't just sit back and say, well, why don't she do this? And girl, no, call me. Call me. If your idea and your suggestion can help turn this district around, call me. Same thing I was telling you to do before I started running for city councilwoman. Call me. Many of you did, you know, and we got things taken care of. And it's just on a bigger plate now. And I am asking that you go vote. It starts Saturday morning, November the 2nd, through the 9th, except Sundays, early voting. Put your vote in. Go early if you can, because you don't know what can happen by November the 9th, November the 16th, which is general election. But we want to encourage you to go out and vote. November the 2nd, early voting starts this Saturday morning through the 9th. And also we want to encourage people to be on the lookout. We heard last time that there were some people at the polling bowls that were way out of order. And we are going to be on the lookout for that this time. And we're going to make sure that they get what coming to. If you get caught, there's going to be a penalty, because it's not fair to the people and it's not fair to the constituents. Let them choose who they want to vote for, because the educated voters make educated decisions. So that's basically all I have to say tonight. Actually, it was more than I thought I would say before I came on the show. And so, Pop, do you have anything you want to say? Y'all know this is my Pop. He's my sidekick. He's been there for me. He's pushing vitamins down my throat right now. I've lost quite a bit of weight on this campaign trail, and shakes, and I mean, I got it. They really been trying to make sure I stay healthy, and so I thank God for that. And so I just want to give you a minute to say.
Well, I would like to say thank you once again, audience, for allowing us just then to have some of your time and attention. I wanted to expound on the subject of producing proposals of business expansion.
Okay.
that provide community service as well as building up the waste places. Because this blight and other things that people is crying about, I see this as an opportunity. And since being in this race with you, I hear opportunity zones is a subject. How many people actually know what opportunity zone means? Where are these zones? These are the things that goes through my mind on a day-to-day basis. How many people is consciously aware of this very subject alone? That this condition that appears to be a bad situation, I think God is enabling a specific class of people that he has called into ministry that's now is going to provide this type of service that people has been crying and praying for a very long time. As your husband, whom I love as my son, Charles, spoke about earlier, people has been given so many promises dealing with falsehood, superficiality, outright lies. But you know that the people of the world, their mentality is made up of those very things that they have done to victimize themselves as well as other people. So I think instead of us whining and crying so much about what they're doing, let's create what we know that's going to transform these conditions in these people's lives so they can be an example. Not just set an example, but become the example, like Johnny Appleseed, you know, the story that I read as a child. You understand that this one guy went around the country, didn't do nothing but plant apple seeds that produced trees everywhere. And we learned, you understand, that the bees pollinated most of the plants on the planet. Well, I think God is using us now somewhat like those insects, you understand, to pollinate the lives of his people here on this planet. And that within itself brought me to the subject of religious reformation. Because the government has already set up a great significant amount of funds in the Religious Reformation Act itself, that people such as ourselves that has a thriving ministry can apply for this money to help our people in these communities that need funds to do what? Transform their lives. And those were the two things that was going through my mind, and I thought was necessary for the people to know. And in the event that people in the audience out there that's listening to this show is of the mindset that they think that they don't have a position in this, know that you are the position. You're God's people. You're the greatest thing that he has in creation here. And all of creation is waiting on his people to get up, stand up, and do what he has always desired for us as a people. And this is what I work for on a day-to-day basis. At almost 70 years old, I feel great. Matter of fact, I feel wonderful on a day-to-day basis to have the strength in my mind, in my limbs, which is my body, to allow his Holy Spirit to continue to generate the type of desire and passion in me that enables me to help this woman here that has been a part of y'all show for so long, that I know and love as my daughter, Janet Jackson. And I'm going to ask you once again, as she did, to go to the polls and vote for her. Because the word says, when God's people is in office, in power, the people automatically rejoices. I think people are tired of agonizing and full of pain and anger, frustration and tension. I think they're tired of being deprived of the opportunity to just be themselves, be decent human beings. And I think that's what we're working for. I think God is now not just deputized us, but they provided us with the ingredients that we need to get to the people that has the resources that we also need to help you guys that's out there that's in need of help. And I can be expounding on other subjects, but that's the one that's primarily on my mind at the moment. And I just want to thank you. So, Ms. Jackson, I don't know what Brother Charles is going to just there, but you know, I think he's the moderator, the star pupil, you understand, of this particular hour, you understand, and if he's not too busy, I would like for him to come back in here, you understand, and get me off this table. I got too many things running around and let him fill my mind. And if y'all didn't know it, she talk about how many hours that she spends on a day-to-day basis. Well, I'm that individual, you understand, that helps make certain that she's doing that.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Getting her vitamins and her diet, you understand, back in check. Doing research. Because in the past, I was into security. And I'm into security now. And that's the security of God's people wherever I see them. And this particular one, her husband, as well as those that is that family that God has given me, I want to always represent to the fullest extent of God's will for my life. Thank you very much. Dear,
All right.
is there anything else you'd like to expound on it?
Not really. I'm kind of just waiting on my husband to come back.
Okay.
Like I said, I've done quite a bit of talking today, and
Yes, ma'am.
I came out of obedience because I suppose I had took that left and went home, you know, but I said no. I told him I would be there, so I'm gonna show up. We was at the Northgate Mall, and oh my God, you talking about the people? Oh my God, the kids! It was
Wow.
amazing. I
Yes.
mean, it was packed. I mean, every entrance, it was full.
Peace,
You know,
love,
yes,
joy,
yes,
and happiness.
Yes,
You know.
they're serving the kids
Yes.
chili dogs and what else they had? Some jambalaya, and I think somebody said nachos
Yes.
and it was
Butter popcorn.
Yeah,
And candy galore.
Yes, so much candy.
Yes.
So tonight, I just want to close. I guess we're going to end the show early tonight. I just want to close with letting y'all know that I'm grateful for all of you that have hung in with us throughout the years and walked with me on prayer lines and prayer calls. I'm grateful for the strength that I received from your friendships. I've been scrutinized quite pretty good because of them, but it's okay because God didn't come seeking for a color. You understand? All of our blood is the same color. I've spent so much time trying to explain, and I've almost gotten to a point to where I'm not going to keep doing it. You know, having to explain to people why I have friends in the Republicans, that's Republicans, and Democrats. And then, look, I had friends before I started doing city council work, and I'll have those friends when it's over.
Yes.
So if y'all don't mind, let me focus on the work, because I will not exert all my energy trying to convince you of something that's inconvincible anyways, you know, because people just love to find something to cry about, anything, you know.
Gotcha.
If we spend as much time as we've been doing talking about, well, you over there with the Republicans, and you got money from the Republicans, and you, look, that's foolishness to me. Who cares? It's money. Money is an instrument for a purpose, and that's what I'm gonna use it for. You know, and you can support me, you can write the check. I'll take it because it's needed, you know? And you don't have to tell me if you're a Democrat or Republican. I really don't care. You know, it's about what we are trying to do, and that is to build these broken bridges in our community. If you don't mind me working, okay? Because I will not, and I repeat, make sure you get the word out. Call them and tell them to turn on the TV or watch the rerun. I won't keep explaining that part of my life. That's who I am. God called me to build bridges. I love people.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. And if you want to support me, you're welcome. Okay? We got work to do. All right, go vote. I'm number 131 on your ballot. Janet Jackson, City Council, District 5.
What in the world did I step into?
Let's go.
Listen, guys, listen. Okay. You know, traditionally, when you think about, especially those of us who are thinkers and those of us who are deliberate in our thinking, we have a focal point. We're not just aimless and abandoned in our life. You know, when you think about the difficulties associated with doing some of the things that that life requires, it makes things so much simpler. You know, it makes things so much simpler. You know, Democrat and Republican, we get the divide, we get the difference, we get the whole thrust of that. The problem we have with that is that God doesn't choose. He don't have a Democrat or Republican.
Make it plain.
You know, he doesn't have a Democrat or Republican. And to live life, you don't need to be either of. In order to contribute to people's lives, you don't need to be either or. Now, I tell you what, if you want to be on the divided side of a situation, you can grab one of those parties. You can be a Republican or you can be a Democrat. And you know what? Living life as many years as I've had, I've seen the same on both sides.
Yes.
Now you know that there are principles that clearly identify the differences in the differences in the parties. But the differences in the parties can only be realized in the people. We can talk about it all day long. But the realization comes from the people. And because, guess what? Most of the most important issues that face any city, any family, any society doesn't have anything to do with Democrat or Republican. In order to solve them, you find yourself in the same place in that argument. People who want to get things done are focused on what it takes to get it done.
Right.
That's where we are. We're focused on what it takes to get it done. If that means Republicans, if that means Democrats, if that means independents, if that means sinners, if that means Christians, if that means Muslims, if that means Asians, if that means Latinos, if that means Jamaicans,
We welcome it.
we 5 years ago, we were telling you how inclusive we are.
Amen. That's right.
Nothing's changed. If you want to help, come on in. If you want to be an antagonist,
No time for it.
good luck with that. If you want to be an obstacle, God is waiting on you. If you want to be an enemy, we're praying for you. You're going to need it.
Amen.
So, in order to have a peaceful exit from this conversation, this is what we're going to say. You know, when we think about purpose in our lives sometimes have something that's a clear-cut religious connotation to it. Okay? But watch this. Let me ask you something. All of us know that Jesus had a person carry his cross part of the way. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, first of all, how important was that? That was as important as the act of the crucifixion, right? Well, why is it that we don't know this guy? Why is it the only place this guy shows up is on the way to the crucifixion? Now, watch this. His importance has all the importance of the story. Because without him, the story changes. But yet we don't know who he is, and we don't even know his outcome. See? So watch this. So his whole role in life was to carry the cross. The span of time it took for him to carry it from this place to that place. That was his purpose in life. So let me ask you something. Which one of the occupations that he held before that moment in time was important to that moment in time? I don't recall him saying he was a priest. He was a deacon. They don't even say he was guess what? They don't even say he was Jewish. But guess what? His role, as insignificant as some of us may see it, was just as important as any of the players. What's my point? What's your role? Where do you show up in the story? Is the significance of your life held to less than an hour in the span of your life? Is that the only significance your life has? See, we can use Jeremiah. We can use whatever. We can use whoever. When God makes a statement to Jeremiah, how old is Jeremiah?
Young, 9 or something like that. Huh?
Okay. Well, what did he do before then? And what did he do before then that prepared him for what God said he made him before he put him in his mother's belly? See, these are little questions that we rarely ask ourselves. But yet they point to the significance of life in your own role, in your own purpose, being carried out until the moment in time God says, well done. Because guess what? Believe it or not, believe it or not,
Purpose,
Judas got a well done.
purpose override everything.
Even Judas.
Judas got a well done.
Purposeful,
Because Judas carried out his purpose
right?
to the letter. So I leave you with this. I used to mess with my wife with this all the time. I said, when a servant, slave, we got him out in the field. He's our servant, he's our slave. We got him out in the field. Time, it's about 30 minutes before supper time. We call him in. He knows it's 30 minutes, he comes in. And before he sits to eat his meal, he washes his hands, and guess what he does? He prepares whatever the master needs before he sits to the table to eat his meal. Now, each time he does that, should he be in expectation for the master to say, oh, my favorite slave, my favorite servant, thank you so much for what you've done? Should he expect that? Because scripture tells me this, that when a slave or a servant has done what is expected of him, should he be rewarded? Selah. We just got our minute notice. We will see you next Thursday. We plan to be here 2 days before the final election day. So next Thursday. we'll see
Don't
you.
forget to go out and early vote.
Yes,
Start
yes.
Saturday morning,
and-
November the 2nd through the
and
9th.
That's ballot 131, ain't it?
Number 131 on my is the ballot. number.
Understand this. Next Thursday, you don't want to miss the show. Call somebody, let them know.
He might
next
be by
Thursday,
himself.
next Thursday, you don't want to miss the show. Okay? Whether I'm by myself or not, I promise you, you don't want to miss the show.
Thank you for your graces.
Okay? So, thank you for watching.
And see you next week,
On
right
the
here on the
Game
GameChanger show. God bless.
God bless.
Yes. Outstanding.